Hey guys, welcome to Outlaw Edge Blade Works. So tonight I've got some more 5-star books. I was digging through my library and I found some other ones that I thought you guys might like. This is David Grann, The Lost City of Z by David Grann. This is definitely a 5-star book. It's a pretty big read. Highly recommended. If you guys can find this story somewhere, find it on Amazon or wherever. This is an amazing book. Lots of adventure in here and crazy stuff that happens to this guy trying to find this city in the middle of the Amazon or whatever it is. But really good book. And I know I've read it a couple times. Can't really remember a lot of it, but I really liked it. It was a fun book to read, and it was one of those that you sit down and can't stop reading it. The next one is Dead Lucky by Lincoln Hall. And these are about mountain climbers and all the bad things that happening to them. This is one of the National Geographic Channel books where they talk about all the stories of them climbing Mount Everest and all that, running out of air, frostbite, losing their limbs, their fingers, their stuff like their tents blowing away, and just all the bad things that happen to them when they're trying to climb up the mountains. And this is a pretty good sized book, but it's really interesting, and there's a lot of pictures in here. A lot of pictures, and my dog's over there choking again. But it's got a lot of interesting stuff in it, and I think this is a highly recommended book, so I put this on my 5-star list. On the Wild Edge, this is about, this is David Peterson. David Peterson is the author, On the Wild Edge, but this is about a couple that read Henry David Thoreau, and they decide to move to this little town or whatever out in the woods and build a cabin and whatever, and just, I don't know, I don't want to ruin the story for you, but this is another 5-star book, really interesting. And the neat thing is this is done like a journal, where a lot of it's written like a journal where you feel like you're kind of there with them, and like the guy, almost like the guy was sitting next to you writing a book or whatever, but it's kind of like a diary almost. Really had fun reading this book. A lot of good stuff in here and a lot of stuff that I didn't know about, but highly recommended. This book is Death on the Barrens, and it's George James Grinnell. George James Grinnell. Death on the Barrens. This was an excellent book, and this is one of them that is kind of like a journal also, where they and there's a whole bunch of pictures and stuff in here too, that they talk about different things, but this is one of them books that you can't put down. And it's the Barrens are in northern Canada, the Arctic region or whatever, and they're talking about getting stuck out there, being stuck out there for months and not knowing what to do. They have no way to make fire, nothing to eat. Obviously they can't boil snow because everything's so cold, and they can't make fire, so they have no water. But just everything that these guys went through trying to survive out here, and it's a really good survival story. Loved it. 5-star book. Solitude, and this is Robert Cole. And this is pretty neat too, because you can see it's broke down in sections right here, where this is a journal, where the way he wrote this is just like a diary also. And it's not a survival story or nothing like that. It's just it's not poetry, but the way he writes is kind of like it's out of his diary, but he kind of writes it almost in a poetry style. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good book, and I have to put it on my 5-star list out of my library. Yeah, it's highly recommended. If you guys get this book, check it out. There's a lot of neat stuff in it, and I love the way the guy writes, and it's a cool setup, cool style that he has of writing. And one of my most favorite books out of my library, this is a 5-star book to me, but just absolutely awesome story. This is Yossi Ginberg, and he's lost in the jungle. He watches his buddy go over the waterfall in the boat, and so he gets stuck out there for 21 days, I believe it is. I can't remember. I know I've read it a bunch of times, but he's stuck out in the jungle in the Amazon with nothing. 21 days. He talks about surviving out there, hallucinating, not having any water or food, being chased by Black Panthers, and just everything that's just goes wrong for this guy. And the end of the story will really get you. I mean, it's one of them, you know, one of these books that you almost have to read it really quick just to see what happens at the end. And the guy, some of the stuff, people that I've talked to about that have read this book said it was kind of far-fetched. But if you've ever done any survival trips or anything like that, where you were stuck out in the middle of nowhere, your mind starts playing tricks on you. And I think a lot of that is being sleep deprivation, no water, no food, and no comfort zone. You don't have, and loneliness. Loneliness is a big one. You get stuck out in the woods, and you know, you're not sitting in front of your TV going like this with a remote or texting or talking to somebody or whatever. You're lonely. You're tired because you're scared and you don't know what to do, and you have no water, so you're dehydrated, so your brain starts playing tricks on you. And this book goes through that really good, because the guy, you could tell that he wrote this book after he, well, I don't want to ruin it for you, but anyways, after some stuff happens to him, you can tell obviously he lived because he wrote the book. But this is a true life story of Yossi Ginberg, and the guy's awesome. I mean, the stuff that happens to him is amazing. Highly recommended though, if you guys can find this book. This is a great read right here, and it's pretty good sized book, but you'll read it quick because it's so good. You got to find out what happens at the end. Anyways, I don't want to bore you no more. Thanks again for joining me. Sub to my channel. Appreciate it. Have a good night.